On RfRx, join us in an exploration of religious harm in Latin America. Teo Teo El Ateo, goodness, we'll discuss his personal experiences and provide info on religious-based harm, ranging from political corruption to violent crime, accusations of witchcraft, and exorcism. We'll discuss challenges faced by people who have been harmed by religion in the Hispanic world and services that are available to help. Now, Teo El Ateo is a Hispanic atheist VTuber and activist who works to expose the harms caused by religion in the Hispanic world and create spaces for people to speak freely and ask questions about their faith without the fear of rejection or discrimination. His channel, Nurasta Experiencia Atea, oh my God, I hope I said that right, is dedicated to denouncing the harms of religion and combating misinformation. So go ahead and check out the YouTube page and let's say hi to Teo. Hi, sweetie.
Now I'm
Welcome.
unmuted. Hello. Yeah,
Hello.
love your Spanish.
Oh, I did it right. Okay, great. I feel a little bit more Latin now, and not French.
Teo, help us say it right. I actually asked a friend of mine who speaks Spanish before the show, because I was like, please help me do this right. And then Helen decided to do the introduction. I was like, yay, I'm off the hook. Teo, please correct us. How do we say your name?
Oh, Teo El Ateo.
Teo El Ateo. Okay, I did it right. Okay, cool.
Got it.
Yeah,
okay.
I love how we have been friends with Helen for years and she still cannot pronounce my name. So beautiful.
It's great. We'll just
lawyer when it comes to me, lawyer standards.
It's okay. Well, but it's a good point though, because we tend to speak in English on this channel, and that reaches a particular audience, and that's not everybody who has been harmed by religion, right? So we are really pleased that you are here tonight, Teo, to help us expand our reach and maybe bring some awareness to some of the issues of religious harm that are affecting people in a lot of parts of the world that we don't talk about quite as much.
Thank you so much. And yeah, actually, one of the reasons why I have my channel is because I was fan for a while. Well, I'm still a fan of Faith's experience and everything that the ACA does. The first time I saw Darrell was in one of those shows. Then I started checking stuff about regard from religion. And that's how I learned about all the harms of religion. And I decided to start looking around, see what was happening in my own continent where we don't speak English. So most people don't watch your shows. And I realized that there was not any space for people to do what you do. So I'm trying to create a community in Spanish. Luckily, a lot of atheists have been appearing right now, and there are other communities, so things are going great. But I'm still obsessed with having you over there, guys. I want to translate your stuff to Spanish. I really wish that there were more stuff from recurrent from religion in Espanol, because it's needed over there. And for now, it's only available for people mostly who already speak English. So
yeah, that is a great point. And we are definitely interested in working together on things like that. So stay tuned, y'all. We are going to do our best. And Teo, thank you. This is a good time to mention that, we always need volunteers at Recovering from Religion. And if you have language skills, we need you. So thanks for that reminder, Teo. And we are looking forward to maybe that working out.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Yeah,
okay,
great.
So I wanted to talk about this, and I made a small presentation. I hope it's not too small, because I kind of made it thinking the big screen, but it's still good like this. So I want to talk with you about crimes of faith in Latin America, and mostly there is, oh, wow.
I made you awesome. The center of the screen so we can see it.
You are the star now, Teo.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Okay, so my idea in here was to talk about stuff that happens in Latin America, but I wanted to use things that you can find easily. So I decided to leave everything in Spanish. One, because I'm lazy, and two, because like this you can find the original articles. Also, you are not going to be distracted by trying to read what is written in front of you. So it works for me. I wanted to talk about a lot of stuff, and I realized that there were way too many of them, and there are many things that I'm going to skip. For example, if you haven't seen me in the nonprofit, you know that I'm going to be always arguing against religion, against the Catholic Church, talking about abuse and crimes. Of course, I mentioned this in here, but I'm not going to mention all the crimes that I have been talking about before about the Catholic Church, because that would be hours and hours and hours of just reading names. There was something that I didn't know if I wanted to show. I left it separated, and now that I checked my presentation, I realized that I forgot to include it, so I'm just going to mention it. I'm not even sure if I should mention it. Okay. People, I'm so sorry about what I'm going to mention. I'm going to make it really quickly and the less painful as possible. Many children have suffered under stuff like exorcism. There is a terrible case that I could mention later, but there was a child who, let's say, her own mother ended up removing her insides because of the type of ritual that she was making in order to make to remove the devil from inside of her. So there you have it. A lot of people suffer from there. It's one of those things that breaks you when you read it, and I should have left that for the end, not the beginning. But okay, I'm going to start advancing, because if not, I can stay in the presentation for hours. I like talking about this, and I'm sure you realize that I'm a cartoon. If you want to know, it's because I'm a digital god, but as an atheist, I don't believe in myself, so I have no self-esteem. I want you all to know that, so please love me, people. But there are other reasons why I decide not to just to be a cartoon and not a human from just bones and flesh like you, inferior fleshy creatures. One of those things, it's right here. Let me tell you about an interesting country called Guatemala. What happens in Guatemala? Well, law says, for example, here I have the article. Can I write? Can I please? Yes, it's working. Article 224. This is an article that protects religions. If I decide to speak against religion, they can send me to jail. So what I'm doing right here could land me could send me for 1 whole year. Yes, in here it says 1 year of prison, just because you're talking against religion. The original idea is to protect, celebrations so people don't disturb them. So this is about not disturbing religious celebrations. Maybe some of you are going to say, that's okay, I understand why they want to protect it. But it's not only about interruptions related to that, but if you speak against so here it's talking about acts of talking against religion or looking down at religion. If you speak Spanish, you realize. I cannot bullshit you because I know I have people speaking Spanish in here and I love it. But yeah, if you talk against religion or you offend them, where's my here? Offenses against religion can land you for a whole year in prison. I will be showing you the flags of the countries so you see how that this is not only from one specific country, and you see how varied Latin America is. Because yes, people, some of you are from the USA, and I have to inform you, Latin America is not part of Mexico, and there are many countries down here. So yeah. And why did I decide to start with that interesting country, Guatemala? Well, because this character here, this guy, this is Cash Luna, and he has been linked to narcotraffic. Sorry, here, narcotraffic. And this is the news about him defending Rolando Alvarez, who is an evangelical priest who has been in jail for a long time. This is 2023. It was 1 year, so this was like last year. And the other reason why I'm mentioning that is because they were they were investigating this guy, and the el poder legal, legislative power, the laws, they decided not to continue with this because it was against the constitution and all of that, because Guatemala, over there you have you have laws against attacking religion. So he, as a pastor, has strong links with very big, powerful criminal groups, and nothing happens to him because he's protected by law, because he's a priest, and because they decide just like that, oh no, he's not being a threat, and we shouldn't keep pursuing this guy. I will start with scams right away. I will mention Cash Luna later, don't worry. But right now, I want to start with one of the most obvious ways how priests, pastors, and religious people in general scam other religious people. And this is going to be scams. And as you see, these estafas. Oh, yeah, I don't know if I warned you, but I'm going to leave everything in Spanish and I will use a lot of Spanish just for fun. So, estafas, aka scams. The first one I'm going to mention is about the eclipse that happened a couple of days ago. And this is about this guy who decided to tell all, oh yeah, his name is Gabriel Alberto Ferrer Ruiz. Gabriel, that's it. This guy decided to tell all his followers that the war was going to end with the eclipse, so they had to sell everything they had in order to buy forgiveness, and they had to give all as contributions. So people started selling their houses. They started to get ready for the eclipse, and after this finished and the war was still there and they were not in heaven, they decided to go and ask him about what had happened, and they couldn't find him. He took all their money. So now these people are starving without a home and with nothing to, with no money at all, because the pastor took it all and ran away and nobody knows where he is. So here you have one of the most obvious ways how religious harm people, scams, pyramid schemes, a lot of stuff with donation of lands has happened a lot. Any kind of scam that you can imagine, you can find a pastor uh, deceiving people in order to take their money. And sadly, as pastors in Latin America are still seen as this authority figure who are the embodiment of goodness, they don't distrust them and they end up losing all their money over and over and over and over again. I don't know how many ends of the words I have survived. I don't know how many people selling their stuff because the pastor told them that it was going to end. I have seen, and it keeps happening, sadly, because people don't think about it. They just believe. And here we have this woman who made it a little bit smarter because she started scamming the pastors, and through them she scammed everybody else. Her name is Maria Elvira Rodeo Zambrano. She was a prophet, quotation marks, and she started to. Oh yeah, by the way, the flags. The previous one, this is the Mexican flag, Bandera de Mexico. So Mexico is the first country. Before that, we had Guatemala, and here we have Colombia. Just to show you a little bit of variety. What did she do? Well, she said that she had a fortune of 4.5 billion, but those are pesos. I forgot to make the. I mean, I didn't forget it. I made the change, but I totally forgot how much it was in euros. That is closer to dollars, but a lot of money. So she said that she had a lot of money and she was going to receive this money under the condition that she gave half of the money to charity. So, of course, every single pastor she would talk with, he was going to be the only pastor receiving all the money. And pastors decided that if they could help this woman, they would get a lot of money. For example, if they help her with 1 million pesos, Colombian pesos, they were going to get 30 millions as a reward because, of course, she was going to give half of her money. And if they help her with the money needed to pay lawyers and stuff like that, they were going to receive a lot of money. The only reason why she got caught is because she got greedy and she did the same with many churches. And, you know, those guys talk to each other. But yeah, she scammed the pastors and the pastors decided to tell their followers to do the same. And she took a lot of money from them. And she never had the original 4 billion pesos. So, of course, it was a scam all along. And now we go with more serious territory, because in the previous stuff that I mentioned, at least people are alive. In this case, people usually are not that lucky. Witchery. I hope you recognize the witch. If you don't, it's okay. What happens with witchery? I'm sure that you're going to laugh about people believing in witches and stuff like that, but in Latin America, sadly, there are still people believing in that. And here we have Guatemala again. Not only people believe in witches, so witches take their money and they run away with the money of fools. They also blame innocent people of being witches. Here we have this woman. Her name is, here it is, Adela Chocas. Sorry, this is Spanish. Adela Chocus, and she was a spiritual guide from a tribe of native people. And she and her daughter was Sandra Tech Choc. They were kidnapped and they were going to be burnt alive. They were caught for over 18 hours and people burned their house and everything they had. So now they are homeless, living in the street. They had nothing, only because she was a spiritual leader for these native people. So evangelical people accused her of being a witch. They wanted to kill her alive. So it was only thanks to some human rights groups that she survived, but she was going to be murdered together with her daughter, only because people thought that she was a witch because she was doing some spiritual rituals that are not Christians. And sadly, this is more common than you might think. This we go to Colombia, and in Cali, that is a city in Colombia. Some women found a dead cat, and people thought that they were witches that were going to use the cat in a demonic ritual. So they tried to kill them. They were going to murder them only because of a misunderstanding. Uh, they originally said that they were surprised sacrificing the cat. They said that they didn't kill the cat, that they just found them, but all the neighbors, all people around, they attacked them, they hit them. The excuse was that it was they were they had harmed an innocent animal, but then they said that no, because the problem is that they were witches and they were going to use the animal for a ritual. So as you see, very sad that this keep happening. And this one, she was not lucky. This also was in Colombia, this time in Antioquia. And this is about a woman who got sick and she had an attack. I think it was an epilepsy attack. And because of that, they started calling her a witch. Well, sadly, in 2012, they burned her alive in front of her pets, in front of her dogs. And the hatred of people was so much that when police arrived, people said, no, yeah, dogs were barking, but nobody cared about it. So we just kept on going with our lives. And well, obviously dogs were barking because their mother was being murdered, was being burnt alive in front of them. And this one actually is part of the next points that I have, that I'm going to go straight away with it, which is murder. A lot of murder happens in Latin America due to religious reasons. I'm not going to mention those killers who, in name of God, they pray before and then they go and kill people. I decided to skip that part. I'm going to go to uh, the direct result of religious ideas, just like this one. This woman who was a witch, so she has to die. Well, the same happened to this guy called Tatamingo. His name was Domingo Choc. He was a doctor. I don't remember. I think he went to Harvard, but I'm not sure. So I don't want to mention it, but maybe. But he went to an important university, and he was in Guatemala once again, investigating the plants, because he was investigating the indigenous or the natives medicine. So he was trying to see which plants that they use to kill each other, to heal each other, were going to be useful and which weren't, to get new medicine. Something that I find amazing, and I really like what he was doing over there. Well, people decided that he was using the knowledge of pagans and these evil people who only can serve the devil. So they decided to tie him up and burn him alive again, as well, just like the previous person. Why? Because he was trying to use, this wisdom of these terrible native people. And I don't know, maybe they were upset because he was going to take it to to Europe. I don't know, but he was murdered, and this was in 2020. So, and it happened during the day. That is kind of the worst part of it. Nobody did anything to stop this group of evangelical people who decided that this guy was evil because he was studying plants, so he had to be burnt alive. Gosh, a lot of people burnt alive so far. And yeah, This one, it's kind of cheating, but I want to mention it. This happened in Valuvar like 25 years ago, and it's a case of Jehovah Witnesses. I just want to mention that this keeps happening over and over again. If you go and make research about what happened with Jehovah Witnesses, you know that they murder their own children due to their beliefs. Right now, Jehovah Witnesses are growing in Latin America. I was a Jehovah Witness for a long time, and because of what I learned from them is that I realized that things were not right either in the evangelical church that I had been before, nor in the Catholic one that I was also being part of. And when I used the same knowledge to check the Jehovah Witnesses, I realized that something was very, very wrong with them. But the thing that made me realize that everything was wrong is this, that they prefer you dead instead of saving your life because they are against blood transfusions. Once again, search on the internet, search for their excuses. What I hate the most about their excuses is when they take the guy who learned how to turn how to keep blood for a longer time working. He said blood could be one of the most dangerous things that we work with, and they say, "You see, he says that blood is dangerous," and no, he was saying that it's dangerous because they couldn't keep it for a long time without it getting spoiled, and he solved that problem. So Jehovah Witnesses are dangerous, are extremely dishonest, and I'm going to mention that they keep murdering children. And there is one article that I should have mentioned in
Hey,
here.
Teo, before you continue, I just want to say to our audience, we are talking about some heavy stuff. So if you're feeling any distress or this is a little bit, some of this stuff is kind of triggering you, please do self-care, especially when we're talking about these heavy topics. Like, if you need to bow out, take a break, it's perfectly okay. I just wanted to get that out there to our audience because it can be a lot for people.
Oh yeah, you're right. I've been talking about this so long that I kind of forget how I felt the first time that I started talking about it. And yeah, you're right, people. I know how heavy all this stuff is. Yesterday, I was watching a documentary about Aisha and Mohammed, and I was almost throwing up. And we had the same conversation after that, like self-care and all of that. So yeah, I totally understand if this is too much. I will try to soften it a little bit. But yeah,
You're doing fine, Teo. Don't change anything. We just wanted
Yeah,
to warn the audience. You're
love
doing
you,
fine.
Darrell. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Okay,
yeah, that's all.
there is a watchtower in which the Jehovah Witnesses, this is from 1998, if I'm not mistaken, is July 17th, 1998, but I have to check it later. And is where Jehovah Witnesses show on the cover children who refuse blood transfusions, and they show them as martyrs of faith. So even Jehovah Witnesses accept that they murder children. Okay, next topic. Oh, damn it, this is even worse. Once again, Colombia. This is another woman who, this happened in Barranquilla. She used to make, I don't know if you know about Santeria. Santeria is a mixture of some African ideas and some Christian ideas. I disagree with these ideas because they sadly kill chickens in order to make their rituals and other stuff. It's terrible. I really dislike it. But this is about a woman who was she's not a priest, she's just somebody who makes rituals. I don't even know how to call her in Spanish. It would be like hechicera, a charmer or something like that. And she was doing one of these rituals, and she was murdered cold blood in front of everybody, because of because of what she did. There are theories about them being part of a gang that was targeted by her magic, but I couldn't find the real information. So if somebody knows, please let me know. Her name was Majito. That's how everybody knew her. And this was in Colombia, once again in La Esmeralda de Barranquilla. So people, you can Google this and you can find this information. Her name was Lorileis Vilches. And I should have the date in here. Oh, well, I don't have the year. It was June 14th. Maybe it's because it was this year, but no, it must have been last year. But I owe you this one, people. But yeah, my point is, people keep losing their life due to these ideas, this belief. People who actually believe that somebody can make magic and harm others or protect others. I have a lot of stories about that, but I'm just in half of the presentation, and I've seen that I've used most of my time, so I'm going to hurry up and go with the next part.
You're fine. You have plenty of time. We didn't start until 20 minutes after, so you're good.
Okay, cool. But I prefer to speak quickly about this one because I'm famous for talking about this over and over again. Sexual abuse, especially priests to children. But I'm going to start with the evangelical church in this case. This happened in Brazil. And yes, I know this is not Hispanoamerica, but I said that the presentation was about Latin America. So Brazilian, they speak Portuguese, is Latin. And this is about what is the name of this guy that I had around here? Okay, this was in Mato Grosso near Bolivia, but I forgot the name of this guy. I'm really sorry. Yeah, I thought I forgot his name, but he was a pastor that in May of 22 was arrested because he would abuse women. He would tell them that he had to put oil on their private parts as part of the ritual to heal them of black magic that somebody had put on them. So of course he had to get them naked, and then he could do whatever he wanted with their bodies. There are I didn't put it in here, but there are women saying that then he would force them to do the same with him, and you know how it works. And I'm just talking about in general how in Brazil this is extremely common. If you search about mega churches in Brazil, you can see the poorest neighborhood with a huge palace in the middle, and that palace is going to be the place where the pastor makes the religion, no, not the religion, the meetings, the religious meetings. And in Brazil they are mixed between the laws and not the law, the government and the religion have a link that is so strong. I'm going to talk about the president later, that they can do whatever they want, and it's very hard to prosecute these guys. Actually, that's why this is a piece of news, because this is much more common that you may expect. I have a special part for government, so I'm not going to mention it now, but keep in mind that in Brazil, the reason why the president is because he changed from Catholic to the evangelical church, and every evangelical voted for him. And that is the same guy that was saying that the COVID vaccine was going to turn you into a crocodile. So you can see even the IQ of the guy. Mexico again. Nason Joaquin Garcia. This is the guy who would abuse the children of. Wow, I'm going again there, but yeah, sorry people. This guy is so awful because when he was sent to jail, parents would cry, not because this guy abused their children, but because he was sent to jail. What I have down here is the statement of the church saying that, oh yeah, the church, by the way, is called La Iglesia La Luz del Mundo. Translated, it could be the light of the world. So the church made an official statement saying that he still had all the support of the church. He was innocent according to them. The victims were lying, obviously, and he had their trust, and he would keep leading the church even from inside the jail. Once again, people who were crying because this guy was sent to jail, because the guy who raped their children was sent to jail. And yeah, this is one of the worst ways in how religion hurts people. And actually, the mind control inside this church is so big that all the followers were forbidden from watching the news, so they couldn't know that he was going to jail. And then when they realized that he was in jail, oh yeah, because it's our enemies are attacking us, and they don't even address the real issue in here. So Latin America suffers, people, and sadly, guys like this one have way too much power because people still believe that priests are the embodiment of goodness in the world, and they should be leading the countries even. But once again, I will talk about that later. Oh boy, I really don't want to talk about this. This happened in Argentina. These are people protesting in front of the Vatican, and I'm sorry, people. The reason why these people are protesting is because in Argentina, there were school for deaf children. And priest went there and started abusing those children because they were not able to communicate what was happening to them. So this is one of those things that whenever I talk about that, I want to throw up. And yeah, it's one of those things that it doesn't matter how many times you talk about them, it hurts over and over again. And yeah, I don't even want to talk about it, but people search for it, search what happened in February 2020 in Argentina and in the Vatican. I'm going to mention the name of this one. It was what was it? I was sure I had it in here. I'm sorry, guys. Okay. Instituto Antonio Provolo para Sordos. Instituto Antonio Provolo. This is where that stuff happened. Search it on your own if you have the stomach, but you can see why I'm so obsessed in talking against how harmful religion is, and especially Catholic religion, because they are in front of the Vatican for a reason, and they are protected for a reason. Okay. This is more of the same. This is in Mexico again. Marcial Maciel and the Legionarios de Cristo. This is a Mexican congregation. The same stuff happens all over again. Legally, over 175 children have accused the same abuse. Most of them were teenagers between 16 and 17, and other 19 students were abused for other 54 people. Okay, this is harsh. They were studying. They were students who wanted to become priests. 46 of these abused people decided not to become into priests due to what happened, and this guy died. And nothing happened to him. He was never judged. He was always protected by the Catholic Church. So there you have another reason why I'm always so upset at the Catholic Church. If you want to know about it, people, check what happened with the Legionarios de Cristo. And the guy of the name is Marcial Maciel. Here it is, Marcial Maciel and Legionarios de Cristo. Those two names are going to give you hundreds of victims of pedophiles in the church. And this is part of the same. This is in Chile. This, yeah, it's not Texas. This is the Caradima case. And this is a famous priest that was that abused hundreds of children. And yeah, this becomes so bizarre, so extreme, that his defense was here. He said that the people he abused were not all or were not underage. That was his excuse. They were not underage, so it was not a problem that he was abusing those people. And here's where we're going to go to the most terrible part of this. I'm not even going to talk about this POS. I'm going to talk about the biggest POS, the Pope. The Pope went to Chile and he accused the victims of this guy of being slandering the guy. Specifically, it's because of the help that I'm looking for the name here. Juan Barros Madrid. He is one of the guys who protected Caradima, and people were asking for justice, of course. And the Pope decided to go to Chile and say that all the accusations against those two guys were nothing but slander. So you can check the date after 2018. Kind of, there was a decrease on Catholic people over there. I wonder why. And once again, if I could say that I'm the personal enemy of the Pope, I could, guys. I know that for him I don't exist, but this is the biggest POS on the planet, and it's somebody who is going to go and accuse the victims of slandering, and in order to protect his pedophiles, because he knows that this is happening and he's just protecting those people. Oh, I never thought that talking about narco traffic would be the softest part of this presentation, but yes, this is going to be the light part, people. I have already talked about Cash Luna in Guatemala. He received millions and millions from this woman called, her name would be Marjorie Chacon. Yeah, it's not an L. Marjorie Chacon. She was known as La Reina del Sur. She was a personal friend of him. Obviously, when he was asked about that, he said that he didn't even know her, that he would never accept money from her, but he had been doing a lot of money laundry for her, and he got, for some reason, a lot of her charity money. So yeah, Guatemala, go there, check the information about Cash Luna and Marjorie Chacon. You can find a lot of information linking both of them together. And after all the stuff that this guy has done, he's still as important as ever in Guatemala. And once again, another reason why we should always be talking about the harms of religion. This one is even funny. This happened in Peru. This is about a collage very. No, this is Cola Verishag. He was a pastor in Peru, and he was a drug lord. He would send tons of cocaine from Peru to Europe, and he would use the church to get volunteers and cover for all the money that they were that they were receiving, and all the money laundry that he was doing over there. So any crime that he could get away with, he was doing it on his church. Once again, another name that you can go and check on your own: Cola Verishag in Peru, if you want to keep searching about this information. And money laundry. This is going to be a quick one. In this case, I'm not going to take all the information in this article very seriously, because it's mostly information about the how ISIS could have gotten to South America or to Latin America in general in order to get support to terrorist attacks. I don't believe that they are actually doing that, but what I do believe is what they mention in here: how Venezuela and Ecuador, they have been helping Iran to do money laundering, to take the money over there in order into their banks, in order to, one second. Oh, my throat. In order to make the money run away, or help them how to move their money around. The banks from Ecuador and Venezuela, they have been under investigation, not only because of this, but many other religious groups that could have been. I'm not even going to say could have. It's obvious that they are using this for money laundering, because they get a lot of they get a lot of money from those groups, and then this is used as charity money or for special needs of churches, etc. So yeah, they are obviously doing it. I mean, it's a public secret. We all know about that. This is a little bit more about that. This guy is from Rugido del León, another religious group that could be like the roar of the lion. Yeah, Jesus lion, whatever. Here, obviously, money laundering, that's the most important thing. He was doing it for a group called Los Urabeños, that nowadays is known as Clan de Golfo. That is the most dangerous group of criminals in Colombia. And they have strong links with with this pastor called Jorge Mercedes over there. And there was another guy. What was the name of the other one? I have them here. So I have Orlando Arce and Orlando Arce and Jorge Mercedes, the guy from here, in case that you want to do your own research, guys. And here, this is really quickly, this is in República Dominicana. Beautiful flag. And here, the pastor Rosy Maivelin, the whole name, Rosy Maivelin Guzman Sanchez, she was arrested due to money laundering. Once again, you can go and search her name. Here you have the name, and the country is República Dominicana, so you can search for it. Once again, these type of crimes have happened in many places. They are investigated in a lot of places. I didn't know if I could show videos, but there is a very famous video of a pastor who's been arrested, and he throws himself under the truck of the police who is arresting him in order, to say that he's been attacked. So this happens so much that we consider it normal in Latin America, and that's quite sad. And this part, for some people, it could be something kind of good, but I'm going to talk about the bad part of this. They get out of jail free card. I'm talking here about criminals who don't pay for their crimes. You can ask a lot of evangelical people about their past, and many of them are going to tell you, no, I used to murder people, I used to kill, rob until I found Jesus. You can track these two. Wait, I have it. Yeah, I'm going to explain that in a little bit. I'm going to explain it in the next image. But you can track these to jail, and I will explain how that works right now. But before that, this is so common that one of the most common jokes that we have is whenever a guy gets into public transportation, he starts with, I used to be a murderer, I used to do drugs, I used to kill people and rob buses like this, but now I'm asking for money in the name of God. That is something that always happens. So we have the joke, why don't you just come and rob us and save us the speech? Because it's extremely common. It happens all the time. Why does it happen? Because in Latin America, and I'm sure in other countries as well. I'm just focusing in here, this beautiful continent. There are many ways how criminals gets years of sentence reduced from them. First one, good behavior. Second one, participation in rehab programs. I'm going to skip 3 and 4 because number 5, they accept the responsibility. 1, 2, and 3, all of them usually mean, oh yeah, this guy went to the evangelical church that is inside the jail, and now he's a new person. And with that, they get reduced a lot of time, a lot. So it's pretty common that in order to, leave jail earlier, they go from being the most terrible person ever to now a person who saw the truth, and now is just another soldier of God and does everything in the name of God. They are the most violent people that you can find outside. So if you're ever going to divide them, do it only through the phone, because they are a danger. And there are several cases of pastors who take them as their personal bodyguards, because these guys are murderers. So they take them as their personal bodyguards. And if you try to say anything against the pastor, well, you are not going to be alive for a long time, or at least not working properly for a long time. So it's well known that pastors take these guys, they use them as their personal bodyguards. I was thinking another word that I don't remember right now. And it's well known that most of the time there is no real rehabilitation. They just say that they have done this stuff and they become people from God. But the most common is when they become pastors. Does anybody know the name for for sicarios in here? I don't remember the name right now. But murderers who you pay to kill others.
Hitman.
Hitman, it's not the word, but yeah, I'm going to use that. Hitman, the person
Assassin.
Assassin. Yeah.
Hitman would be closer. Hitman for hire. That's the phrase I was thinking of. Okay, Hitman for hire. The ones here we have Moises Acala. He was a famous one. If I'm not mistaken, he was part of the group of Pablo Escobar, one of the most infamous criminals in Latin America. This guy is from República Dominicana, Moises, and he said that he used to murder people for fun, but or because it made him feel good. Now he speaks in the name of the Lord because of that, and he always talk about his past. And I'm not saying that there is no rehabilitation. I'm one of those people who say that criminals should have a second chance, but that we should have real rehabilitation, because this guy did nothing. I mean, he ended up in jail, he kept doing all his crimes, and now he's making money by saying, no, I believe in Jesus and Jesus saved me. And that's it. He didn't pay for his crimes. He didn't go through all the real rehabilitation. And the only reason that why he says this is because he made up a story where he was murdered. According to him, he died. Oops, what happens? No. Yeah. He was killed, sure, went to hell, and God revived him with a purpose. And now he's a pastor receiving a lot of money from those guys. So yeah, I tend not to believe in pastors, especially these types of guys. And maybe I'm wrong, but I just see a criminal who is scamming people in another way and not murdering people, as far as we know for now. And now I'm going to. There should be a. Yeah, there should be a division in here that I don't know what happened, but whatever. Okay, this is the division. In Latin America, sadly, there should be a separation between the government and religions. It doesn't happen. A lot of countries have this dynamic in which pastors become politicians, or politicians get the public support of pastors, and they don't lose their status of a non-profit organization for doing that. Not at all. They are even proud of doing that. Several examples that I have in here. I told you I was going to be back with, I was coming back to Brazil. This guy here is Bolsonaro, the president of Brazil, and he's famous for being a fanatic evangelical man. He's against abortion, he is against homosexuality, he is against anything that you could consider non-Christian, and he's the one saying that the COVID vaccine was going to turn you into crocodile. I see that Helen really likes this guy. And the list of people that we have in here are his personal friends, and they are all religious pastors. They are all pastors in here, and they are all either pastors, politicians, both. They give him his support. They are part of his cabinet, etc., etc., etc. Because over there in Brazil, there is no separation of church and state, and well, this is what people want to see in the Bible Belt in the USA. In Brazil, they made it, and it's awful. This is Chile again. Here I'm talking about Eduardo Duran. He is the biggest evangelical personality in that country, and he has not been arrested, but he is under investigation because of millions and millions of dollars that he had made. And here you have him supporting Cast. Cast was the cheap copy of Donald Trump in that country. He almost became the president. And one of the things that Eduardo Duran said about that is that he really was expecting Cast to give the right to the ones who are still not born. So you know where this is going. Both of these guys are known for being extremists, and yeah, the extreme right, and fight against every type of basic human rights from people, because they go against against religion or Christianity as they see it. And this is the last thing that I'm going to mention, because this was the last one, because this is happening right now. As you see, March 2024. You can follow actually. I removed it, but you search for Orlando Hernandez, and you will see how this guy from this is not Guatemala, this is Honduras. Honduras, yes. How this guy from the ex-president of Honduras, who right now is in the USA being judged for several crimes. Well, according to pastors, in this case, I'm going to only mention this one, Roy Santos. This pastor said that God was supporting Juan Orlando Hernandez during the convictment, during the trial. That's the word I'm looking for. During the trial, that he is going to be considered innocent because God is supporting this guy, and there is a whole evangelical movement supporting him publicly, this criminal ex-president of Honduras. And I don't want to talk about his crimes and stuff that he has done, so if you want to know, oops, what happened? Go and search Juan Orlando. Here it is, Juan Orlando Hernandez, also known as JOH, and the trial that is happening against him right now. And this is just a very, very, very short and summarized presentation of stuff that we see every day, stuff that we consider quotation mark normal, because they are something that we see every single day. So you can tell somebody, oh yeah, did you see that pastor supporting that criminal, that famous criminal that is in the USA right now on TV? Yeah, I saw it yesterday. And then we saw I don't know, a TV show, because it happens all the time. And all the crimes that I have mentioned, we sadly are used to them. And that is the saddest part of all. And I think that we need kind of an institution that could help victims of these crimes to recover from religion, I think that is needed because we got used so much to these awful crimes that that's it. We are used to it, and it's sad. You cannot even talk about the Catholic Church because and the abuse against children because the most likely answer is, yeah, we know, and that's it. That's how common crimes are in Latin America, and that's why we need you guys.
Wow, that is really telling and powerful what you said, that it's just
Mhm.
it's so common that it's not even a surprise anymore. That's so sad. And I know you've been doing a lot of work to call attention to these things and bring it to the front of people's minds and say, hey, this is not normal. This is not okay. We need to do something about it. And that is amazing. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the work that you've been doing to try and help?
Oh yeah, I'd love to. If you want to watch, sadly my program is in Spanish. My channel is Nuestra Experiencia Atea. Over there, my own section is called Harms of Religion, Los Daños de la Religión, and I talk about all of these. I have talked against Islam. I have talked about evangelicals, Jehovah Witnesses, Catholic Church, everything that you can imagine. And I know that I have to talk a lot more about this. Over there, there is a section in my channel in which I don't participate, which is called Féminas al Poder, where Alma, she is always supporting me, and she has her own section about it's not even feminism, but it's called Féminas al Poder. That's the idea of the name, but it's only about ways how religion harms women. So if you speak Spanish and you want to see how religions harm women in Latin America, that would be a good section where to start. Um, right now I'm doing kind of debates more on TikTok, but I'm changing them to right now to my channel in YouTube. I'm moving them so I can show it to my YouTube public. I have learned that apparently I only speak against religions because I hate God or I want to sin, or apparently I didn't know that I wasn't straight, so I want to do that apparently, or I don't know. Apparently, the only reason why I talk against every single thing that every single way how religion harms us is because I hate God, which I don't even mention during during most of my shows or when I'm talking about the harms of religion. I think that's a kind of a nice summary of what I'm trying to do, at least.
This
Yeah,
was a
that's
sorry.
Q&A question, but I'm going to ask it now since you're talking about your channel. What is the name of your channel in English and why did you name it that?
Oh yeah, it's called Our Atheist Experience in Spanish, and right now I have a section called La Experiencia Atea where I call people and talk about their ideas. If I translate that name, it could be The Atheist Experience. I don't know if that rings a bell for you, but kind of where I get the inspiration from, where
I'm
originally I started.
pondering.
Yeah, I wonder
Ponder,
why.
ponder, ponder,
And
ponder.
there is with those guys, I have collaborated. There is a section where you can find certain Helen Green as well, called the non-profit, where we usually talk about the harms of religions as well. And yeah, everybody should check that. Also, for people who speak Spanish, I'm trying to create a community for you if you don't believe and you feel alone, because as a personal experience, I know in most small cities in Latin America, it doesn't matter the country. The smallest of the cities is going to have maybe a police station if there is, maybe the place for the mayor if there is one, and if there is any of those, you can always count that you will find a church, either a Catholic church or an evangelical church. Evangelical churches are growing in every place where there is not an a Catholic church. So usually when you stop believing, you are totally alone because everybody in your community believes that there is a God and that this God is watching over, and all bad things are because of Satan or the sin, and that whatever you do bad is Satan doing stuff for you, and if you don't believe in God, you are evil and stuff like that. So I want to create a community for that. I expect my channel to be part of that community. Every Sunday I stream online so people can join. There is a Facebook community where people can go and become blasphemers without any repercussions, so go there and join if you want to speak Spanish. And there is a Discord channel which I haven't checked in a while, but more people are there, so there are some ways, people, if you are interested in that, you can check it. I'm sure Kara and Helen will leave the link tree over there in case you want to find me. And if not, if you want to just invite me to your own community, do it. Follow the link, send me an email. You can send me an email to contactar.ne. Oh, I was going to say it in Spanish, sorry. contactar.nea@gmail.com. You can find me there. Anything you want to talk about, I'm always open. I take the time to answer, but yeah, I will be there for you.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. And, while you're at it, and I did drop your link tree in the chat, and we'll have that in the show notes as well, so people can find all of those links. Also, I'm wondering, you mentioned again that there's such a need for organizations like Recovering from Religion. Could you talk a little bit about how organizations like us could do more to help people in Latin America who have been harmed by these things? What are some needs that you see, and how could we fit into that?
Mostly resources to help people. What you were mentioned about the secular project, I think that is extremely important. I remember how frustrating was when I was studying at university, was under a lot of stress. I was being kind of depressed because things were not going the way I expected. And when I went to talk to the psychologist, she told me, "And have you prayed to God?" And I was like, "No, I'm an atheist. I have recently realized that I don't believe." And she said, "Don't worry, I will pray for you." Obviously, that is the last time that I went there. And I think that we really need psychologists who don't tell you that they are going to pray for you whenever you are feeling down or stressed or stuff like that if you don't believe. And the guides or the help that you give people through the phone calls, I think that a lot of people need that. A lot of people are still afraid. People stop believing in their religion, but they are still afraid of going to hell. People sometimes get kicked out of their houses if they are not straight or if they are not religious anymore, and they end up being homeless just because their parents don't want them to not to believe. So even Jehovah Witnesses, if they do something against the church, they are kicked out and they cannot return. Only now they are starting to change that because of some money issues with Sweden, which is kind of ironic. But most of them are still either homeless or they have nobody whom to go with. So I guess somebody who can listen to people and give them advice on what to do would be something that it's most needed in here.
Oh, great. Thank you. And I'm going to also drop a link that is the Spanish language landing page for Recovering from Religion. So people who speak Spanish can contact our helpline agents. We do have helpline agents who speak Spanish. So please, by all means, call or chat in. But to your point, yeah, it sounds like there is a huge need for a lot more resources in Spanish. And that's something that we need to think about working on. So I really appreciate you bringing that up and bringing all of this to our attention. I know throughout the presentation, people were saying, wow, I had no idea. I'd never heard of this. This is even worse than I realized. And it's a difficult conversation. It was intense, but it's something we need to be aware of instead of, like you said, just acting like, oh yeah, that's happening again. That's normal. No, it isn't. This is not acceptable. So thank you so much for sharing this with us. I know it was not easy to talk about or easy to hear about, but it's important. And it kind of seems like we've moved into Q&A. So before we continue with that, is there anything else you would like to tell us about before we go to questions?
I would like to know if you allow me to take that link that you left there and put it in every single one of my videos about the harms of religion, because I think that people need that.
Yes, yes, please do.
Thank you so much. And guys, one of the reasons why I talk about the harms of religion is thanks to you, because you help me understand how many things were wrong over there. And I realized later, okay, do these things happen over there? How crazy is it? Do they happen in here? And yep, they do. And they are even worse in many places. And I swear, when I realized that if I did this in Guatemala, that I could go to jail, that was shocking, and I realized that recently. So I want to say, people, all the atheists that I know from Guatemala, be strong, people, and you are you are amazing. If you don't go public, don't do it. I totally understand that. And thank you, Ray. Thank you, Darrell. You are awesome, and I love that you have me around here always.
Well, we love having you here, so thank you again. And thank you, everybody, for helping us make this happen and coming and attending. And on that note, I think we should do some questions. Helen is on mute for a second, so I am going to go ahead with a question. um, and if this is too personal of a question, that is completely okay. You don't have to answer. But someone said, thank you for sharing. Can you tell us about your journey, your personal journey from belief to non-belief, if you feel comfortable sharing?
I feel extremely comfortable. Actually, I really like talking about the harms of religion because whenever I do that, they tell me, usually, and this is something that I find disgusting from believers. They know so much that children are raped that when you talk about that, they attack you by saying, "Oh yeah, obviously the pastor raped you, and that's why you are doing this." And they don't realize how disgusting they are being, and that they are accepting that their own religion does this. Well, I'm a privileged guy. I live in privilege. Religion was always good for me. They loved me in the Jehovah Witnesses. They loved me and invited me in several different evangelical churches. Uh, I didn't have much to do with the Catholic Church because we didn't have time to go there. I'm a white guy, a white male cis guy, so even in a theocracy, I would be okay. I don't do this because I have a personal trauma. I do this because I look around and I see that I'm not the center of the world and that people are suffering. And my journey, it's a little bit long, so I hope you have time, but I will try to make it as quickly as possible. Um, my movie was my family was always moving when I was a child because of my father's job. My mother is part of the Catholic Church, my father is part of the Evangelical Church, and they were together. So I always had an interesting open view of religion. With my mother, we could go to the Catholic Church, and it was very boring for me, so I wouldn't pay much attention, or I would just fall asleep. I was a child. My father would just go with my mother because he had the idea that okay, they are both religion, they both praise God, so whatever, it's the same. With all my trips, I met different people, different religion, different versions of religion, and being a preteen, I met a Jehovah Witness who started telling me about the religion. I didn't understand much and I didn't see any difference with the Catholic Church, but when we kept moving, the last city where we stayed, I started studying with the Jehovah Witnesses because I knew them because of this other person, and I started becoming not a not a religious fanatic, but I really liked religion. I really thought that I was here because God loved me and all that stuff, and I really liked learning about this. The Jehovah Witnesses gave me a small blue book that talk about how did life come here by evolution or by creation, in which they use science, very basic for children. Sadly, I was going to public school, science there, they did nothing. The guy in charge of teaching us didn't do that, and actually he ended up in jail. You can imagine why. So awful school. And the only thing related to science that I could study with people was this small book. I have to mention before that my mother is the most amazing woman ever. She always made sure that we had books at home. I was able to read about a lot of interesting stories, novels. We had encyclopedias. My favorite book was something about the Earth, where they would show the different layers of Earth, different fossils and stuff like that. I love the topic uh, because it was very interesting, and I love dinosaurs. I love them now, so that's why I have this beautiful calendar. So thanks to my mother, I was always able to think on my own and learn about different stuff and read a lot. With the Jehovah Witnesses, I started reading and I realized, quotation mark, oh yeah, science is right in these things, but they lie when they say that evolution is true and that there was a big bang, that was an explosion, haha, so silly, blah, blah, you know the drill. However, with time, I realized that the Jehovah Witnesses had some awful stuff. Of course, they were against war, but at the same time, God sent people to war in the Bible. The Jehovah Witnesses told me that all scientific advances were thanks to God because God was guiding us, but it was against blood transfusion. So I realized that the Jehovah Witnesses were full of BS. They were not the right religion. So obviously, one of the others had to be the one. And I started going to the others as well. And I started actually comparing them. And I remember there was an interesting time when I was still part of the Jehovah's Witnesses and going to this evangelical church because my best friend's father was a pastor there. And I would try to argue with him. I think I had kind of interesting arguments because I was a child, but still, it was a child against an adult. Of course, I didn't have good arguments. And with time, I realized that all religions would take the same parts of the Bible and make an interpretation that was totally different from them, and that made no sense. So I realized that, okay, none of these religions can be true and they can all be false. And as none of them offers nothing that could be the only interpretation of the Bible, obviously they are all false. But the Bible cannot be wrong because the Bible is the word of God. So I started reading the Bible and realizing all the mistakes and awful stuff in there. So then I was like, okay, the Bible cannot be the word of God because God is perfect. The God that I know answer prayers. He's always there for you. So the only option that I have is obviously pray to God, and He will guide me and He will give me the knowledge in order to find Him. When I realized that that knowledge never arrived, I was like, oh yeah, it was me talking to me all the time, because I realized that stuff that were comforting from God, I could get comfort from other places as well, and from other, other things. Music, that was something that was not part of my life for some reason. I realized that could produce strong emotions, which, okay, I don't need God for those emotions. And so that's why I realized that I was not a believer anymore. In that time, I didn't even understand the concept of atheist. I thought it was somebody who was an enemy of church or an enemy of God. So I called myself an agnostic.
I mean, technically we are.
Do you want to go there, Helen?
I know. That's why I'm here.
That's why you're awesome. Okay, so after that, I went to university. I started learning a little bit about philosophy. I realized how many ideas of God were held together only because of the fear that we have to die and stuff like that. For other reasons, I said that I really like dinosaurs, so I joined a society that talks about dinosaurs and educates people about them. And that made me realize that, okay, evolution is not that one day a chicken is going to lay down a dog. No, it's a small process. It happens along a lot of time. Because I had this, in my life, I had this brief moment where I couldn't believe in evolution or the Big Bang because they were told to me as lies. So I couldn't believe them, but I couldn't believe in God either. So I just didn't know what happened. If somebody asked me the question, what happened? How did we came to be? I would answer, I don't know. But I know that there is no God doing this and there is no Big Bang doing that because of this, and these reasons. With the dinosaur group, I learned about evolution. I could understand it. And I learned about the age of the Earth. Then I remembered that book that I liked so much from home that explained that. And when they brought a geologist that explained how the Earth was formed, that opened my world. And finally, I was able to, with a cosmologist that they brought as well, I understood about Big Bang, what it really was, that it was an expansion and all of that. And a couple of years after that, I found out, because until that moment, until the dinosaur group, I always thought, how is it possible that nobody else realizes that God is not real? And when I realized that God was not real, I had to face this terrible idea of, can I be the only person in the world who realizes that God is not real? I mean, with Santa Claus, everybody eventually realizes. Why is God different? Why don't people realize? Guys, I was a teenager. I realized that God was false. You were teenagers as well, but now you're adults. Why don't you realize? And I had to fight with this idea that, am I so egocentric that I am the only person who is right in the whole world? I cannot be the only one who is right and everybody else be wrong, right? Yeah, when the dinosaurs, I realized I was not the only atheist. And then certain TV show that we had mentioned already, yeah, the experience. I saw it there. I saw this show. And I have to admit it, Matt Hunt is the first guy I saw. You know, Mateo in Spanish. My name is Mateo. Just get your own conclusions, people. Mateo. Teo is short for Mateo. Amazing book from the Bible, to mention some contradiction from there. So because of that programs, I realized, oh, there are other atheists out there, and you can talk about religion and not being either discriminated or called or attacked immediately, and it's not disrespectful talking about religion. So of course I had to join them for a while and try to help in any way I could. And then I realized, hey, I could have my own show because I love what we do in English, but I have access to this only because I can speak in English. but I know a lot of people don't speak English, and I couldn't find any other resources in Spanish. So I started my own, and 3 4 years, 3.5 years later, here I am talking with you guys. So thank you.
Well, thank you. And I'm so glad to hear that you were able to create some resources in Spanish. And I hope that we'll be able to expand our resources in Spanish too, because there is so clearly such a need for it. So thank you again.
I'm going to be bugging some people. Just gonna say,
Yeah.
because that's what I do.
I love it. I love it. Okay, well, let's see. We have a couple of more questions. Helen, do you want to ask a question?
I do want to ask questions. Okay. You mentioned Latin America and Hispanic countries. What is the difference between the two, and what are the similarities?
Well, Hispanic country is any country where you speak Spanish. So Spain is a Hispanic country, but that doesn't take into account places where you don't speak Spanish. For example, Brazil, they speak Portuguese over there. Latin American countries are countries in Latin America, in America, that speak a language derived from Latin, such as French, Portuguese, and Spanish. So in that concept, you can include Guayana Francesa and Brazil. Sorry, Guayana Francesa y Brasil. I will mention the names in Spanish, it's funnier. So yeah, that's mostly the difference. And there is a third one, which is Hispano-American, Hispano-Americano in Spanish. And those are only countries in America, North, South America, and Central America that speak Spanish. So in that case, you could have all countries except for Guyana Francesa. There is one of those Guyanas where they speak English, and Brazil, of course.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Let's see. We have another question here referring to some of the cases you were talking about, I think, where people were protesting outside of the Vatican. And someone was wondering, does the Pope or the Vatican know about all of these cases you've been talking about? And are they doing anything about it?
Of course, they are doing something. They are protecting the pedophiles, and the Pope, as I mentioned, went there to accuse victims of slandering their bishops. So yeah, he's aware of all of that, and he's protecting every single one of them because it's a huge POS.
Oof. Yeah,
I'm
and
not
that's
surprised.
Okay, I will mention,
Yeah.
as far as I know. Disclaimer there.
Fair enough. Yeah, and that's been a kind of a side conversation that's been going on in the chat this entire time as well. We've got some links.
Really quickly,
that
the
Glenda
person asking
posted in
from
there.
French Guiana, that is Guayana Francesa in Spanish, but yeah, it's French Guiana.
Oh,
So
I love it.
I'm kind of curious, because as a Westerner and living in the United States, there is that separation of church and state, though it's slowly, being encroached, and but that's a different conversation. But when in certain countries that you were mentioning that doesn't have that separation, and I know you touched on this a little bit on your talk, but like, what is the fallout when that separation doesn't exist?
Well, yeah, it's quite. I should have mentioned. I was going to mention this at the beginning, and I totally forgot about it. Thank you for reminding me. Our countries are supposed to be secular. Countries in Latin America, they are not supposed to have any official religion. I have a friend in Guatemala who is protesting now because they want to make the Protestant the official religion, and that goes against the constitution. But all countries, they shouldn't have any official religion. They all are supposed to be secular. So it's interesting. They are quotation mark secular, but people don't know about it. Actually, you ask people on the street and they have no idea that they are secular, and they will tell you, no, my country is a Christian country. And because they have no idea. And it's ingrained so much in the minds of people that their countries are Christians that they don't realize that pastors and priests shouldn't be supporting any politicians. So there is no real difference, or there is no real separation from church and state. So it's not that there isn't, there is, they are separated, but people vote for religious reason, and politicians act due to religious reasons. So despite being this, people still are going to act trying to protect their religion. there is something that I wanted to show, but I decided not to because it's not a crime. But in Argentina, like 3 or 4 years ago, people were protesting on the street with a blue handkerchief in order to ask for the right to have an abortion. So there was no, it was green. Yeah, it was a green one. So there was a religious movement with a blue one, protesting those people trying to ask for free of choice for women, and they wanted to stop abortion from being legal. And I think that there are some countries where they are doing it. Actually, I think that I'm not sure. I don't have the information about this. I promised I was going to make an episode, but I didn't have the time, so I never made the real research. But I think that there is a president, and it's the Argentina president, who is trying to revert the legality of abortion right now, and he has all the support of these people. So it's kind of scary. They're trying to go backwards.
Wow, that sounds familiar and unfortunate. Hey, I just remembered we didn't talk about the answers to the poll questions.
We did not. We
yet.
should probably do that now. Let's
Yeah.
do the answers to the poll.
Okay, so remember back at the beginning, we asked, the first question was, are you from or have you ever lived in Latin America? Only 12% of our viewers who were here live tonight said yes, and 68% said no. 12% said no, but I have visited, and 8% said no, but I have family or friends there. And this probably goes back to what Teo was saying at the beginning, that obviously the people who are watching RfRx are people who speak English or at least understand English. So that makes sense. And we can see from those numbers that we are definitely not reaching everybody that we could be. So let's go to question 2. This was a test question. It was a quiz. It was, when was Christianity first introduced to Latin America? And 4% of people chose 1000 BCE. Nobody picked 200 CE. 60% of people picked 1500 CE. 4% picked 1950, and 32% were not sure. And that's a pretty high number. Hey, Teo, which one is the correct answer?
Yeah, no, they got the right one, but I think that you were a little bit too obvious on that one. Come on, the idea is not to make people suffer.
Right, I'm trying to help us get to the right answer here. Yeah, so
Yeah,
1500.
I think I mentioned it, right? The first diocese was in 1511, so in República Dominicana, Dominican Republic.
Yeah, and that, that's interesting that in the grand scheme of things, that's not really a
Not
very
that long ago.
time. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Only...
and that means that it basically overtook the beliefs that were prevalent there prior to that.
Which brings me to my next question before we go to the last one. What were the previous beliefs before the Europeans came over and like, we're going to introduce Christianity to these people by genocide and we'll do bad things?
I was going to mention that during the presentation because that is one of the biggest crimes, but I decided not to do it because I was going to speak a lot about it. Because
that's a separate talk, but just give us like the
really quickly.
Elevator pitch.
A lot of Christians justify murder and genocide made by the Catholic Church in all South America because of the previous ideas, and according to them, the previous ideas were awful and terrible. And yeah, there were some Mayan tribes that were that were sacrificing people in the same way that Christians came here to sacrifice people. But it was the biggest genocide, historical and cultural in history. And people defend it nowadays. And that is one of the things that disgust me the most of the religious indoctrination. But yeah, there were several religions, hundreds of religions, different nations in here, lots of nations that were massacred, destroyed. They are trying to recover something nowadays, but it's extremely hard because they burned everything that was written from their culture. They destroyed their temples, they destroyed their pyramids, used them to build their houses, and try to erase everything that was not quotation mark Christians in here.
To me, it seems that really speaks volumes about the violence that is still continuing today. That's a long history there.
Yeah, actually, that's why
human beings are getting human being.
both of the guys that I mentioned that were murdered in Honduras were because they were trying to, get to an ancient knowledge of these other native groups that were massacred by Christians, and they paid with their lives. Well, only the second one. The other women paid with everything they had, including their house and every single possession that got burnt.
Oof. Yeah, that's pretty dark. And like you said, there could probably be a whole entire episode just talking about that, but it's kind of important not to forget that that's the backstory here. It probably informs what's going on currently. Okay, so on a slightly lighter note, very ungraceful transition here. We did
talk
have
about turtles.
Let's talk about turtles.
But it is turtles all the way down, so fair.
Yes, and Teo mentioned he really liked his science textbooks as a kid, and I think this is one of the turtles that you learned about. Our third question was, where is the Chilean turtle from? And some of you may have suspected that this was a trick question. The answer choices were Brazil, Chile, Argentina, Des Moines, Iowa, and not sure. And
can I tell the story?
Yeah, I want to point out that nobody selected Argentina as the correct answer. Teo, can you tell us a little bit about these turtles?
Yeah, guys, I love science and some history. Argentina and Chile hate each other, and Chile has one particularity due to the way that it presents itself. It has deserts until the glaciers and all of that stuff, and it's all protected by a mountain range. So that country has even marsupials from before the continents were separated by Pangea. Chile has every single type of animals except for turtles. The only turtle that exists in Patagonia is from Argentina, but when it was caught in Argentina and sent to the museum in England, they had to use the Chilean port Valparaiso. So when it arrived over there, it arrived with the Chilean address, so it was named the Chilean turtle. Another reason for them to hate each other.
If I'm ever in a zoo and I see Chilean turtle, I'm going to correct people. I'll be like, that's not correct.
I mean, the name is correct because it is a Chilean, the problem is the nationality.
That's great. I love it. Love that we got a trick question snuck in there.
And I just on a side note, when you were talking about your mom, my mom is also Catholic, and also both my dad's like believes in God but has no religion, and also encouraged a really good education and bought me encyclopedias and encouraged science and stuff like that. So, shout out to cool Catholic moms.
I just have to say, I'm so sorry, Helen, but my mother is better because it's mine.
No,
sorry.
Well.
Are you going to argue about
no, my
mothers with a Latino?
my mom is better because I'm a gift to the world, and your world is much better because I'm in it. So my mom wins.
My mother speaks Spanish. Just saying.
My mom speaks French.
Damn it. Okay.
Okay.
Good point.
And learned Spanish because she learned Spanish as a third language because she spoke French. She found Spanish very easy to learn.
Then tell her I say hi.
Okay, I will. I'll send. I'll send from a Latin friend that she has no idea I'm
Actually, tell her I say hola. It's better.
Hola.
There you go. Well, my mom doesn't speak Spanish or French, but she did have encyclopedias for us. So I'm going to give her 1 point in this.
All right, everybody, like if your mom got you an encyclopedia set, she gets 1 point. For those of us that grew up with encyclopedias.
Are your moms as cool as ours? Tell us in the chat.
Okay,
yeah, tell us in the chat.
Is that all for questions?
That is it. I think we should wrap up here. And
yes, we can.
Yeah, let's move towards the hangout. So once again, thank you everyone for coming and attending. Thank you, Teo, for sharing with us. And thank you, Helen, for co-hosting, and Rob and Jason for hangout hosting, and Glinda for troll smashing, and Nikki for sharing to the ACD Discord, and Gail and Daryl for being here for the RFR moment, and moral support or immoral support as the case may be, and everyone else. We have a lot of volunteers here too that always help us out every week. So thank you all. We could not do it without everyone. And I am super excited to announce next week's episode is going to be our
baby.
annual collaboration fundraiser super fun panel episode where we have some guests coming from The Line, which is the channel that helps us host our fundraiser. And we are going to have Paula Gia, Shannon Q, Eve Was Framed, and Aaron Raw all next week joining us for the panel. So you do not want to miss
I'm
that
so
one.
excited.
I am too. I'm super pumped. I cannot wait. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then the following week, we have Shelly Siegel is going to be here as well. Some of you may be familiar with her amazing music. If you've listened to our episodes on YouTube before, you have heard her amazing music. So keep coming back. It's going to be a lot of fun. Okay. Helen, where can people find us on the interwebs?
Okay, like I'm going to tell you all, and I'm going to remind you all again, you're smart internet people. You know how to do things. So you're going to go to Facebook, and for us old people that are still on Facebook, and go to our Recovering from Religion page. You're going to go to our other Facebook page where our support groups, our support group project is also listed, and find a support group. You're going to go to the artist formerly known as Twitter, also known as X, and find out all the recent updates that have to do with recovering from religion. And you're going to go to the Instagram, and you're going to go to the TikTokies, and you're going to like, subscribe, heart, share, do all the things, ring bells, because you love us, and that's what you're going to do. And you're also going to, as a reminder, go to our YouTube channel, find one of our 194 episodes, watch it, and go, hey, I know somebody that could use this information, and share it. So go to the YouTube as well. Okay, Cara, talk about the benefits of volunteering.
Okay, I think if the benefits of volunteering were not clear before this week's episode, hopefully they are now. We need volunteers, and we need volunteers that have all sorts of skills, including language skills. But hey, there's something in it for you too. It's not money, but a lot of our volunteers find that healing can come from volunteering, and just a nice sense of meaning and purpose and satisfaction, and being able to help other people get through a process that maybe they wish, hey, I really would have liked this kind of program to be around when I was deconstructing. And you can be a part of helping other people get through a difficult time as well. And as we mentioned earlier, all of the services that we talked about at the beginning of the program are fully staffed by volunteers, with the exception of the Secular Therapy Project. Those people get paid for their work, but everything else is volunteers. And we always need more volunteers, and we need more volunteers who speak Spanish. So if you speak Spanish and would like to volunteer, please come help us make resources more available to a broader variety of people, and people in different parts of the world. We're always trying to expand, but we need your help. And
or
you
other
don't
languages besides Spanish.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
whatever language you speak, we would love to have you be part of our wonderful community.
Absolutely. Yes. All languages are welcome, because we need people on the helplines, that can talk to people who are calling in. We have people calling in from all over the world. So we need people who can host support groups all over the world. So, and you don't have to do those things. You don't have to do a helpline or a support group. You can also do behind the scenes things. You can help us moderate the online community. You can help us translate and edit things. You can help us find resources. All that is always needed. So if you want to help, please check us out. We have a volunteer page on recoveringfromreligion.org/volunteer that explains about what is involved and how you can apply. And that's it for me. Helen, you want to close us out and introduce Dr. Ray?
I can do that. So next week, as mentioned, we do have our fundraiser panel, so please tune in for that. And now I'm going to introduce our wonderful president and founder, Dr. Del Ray, to close out the night. So thank you, Dr. Ray. And I would like to hear what you thought of this very intense but very informative talk.
Well, first of all, I want to nominate my mom and my dad because they gave me the first encyclopedia ever invented on the planet back like when the dinosaurs were still around.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
okay, you get OG awards.
That's cheating, just saying.
No, and as I want to, before I get on, I want to say that as we've been in this meeting tonight, I just learned that Shelley Siegel has agreed to license 2 of her songs for the production of the Recovery from Religion documentary. She and Lindsay connected. I got them connected, and they've been talking on the phone, I guess, for hours tonight. They really hit it off, and she said that that's what Shelley's going to do for us. So looking forward to seeing Shelley on the program a couple weeks. So Teo, I knew this would be good. I knew it would be interesting. I knew I would learn new stuff. I didn't realize it would be this damn good. Thank you. This is off the charts. And by good, I don't mean I'm happy about it. I'm very sad about it and very upset that these kinds of things continue to happen. But thank you for bringing it to our attention. It just shows why recovery from religion is needed in North America, but I think it's far more needed in other countries sometimes, especially in Latin America and Africa, where there's such incredible child abuse going on. I actually got a taste of the religious privilege, oh God, 5 years ago when I went to Chile. I visited South America for a month, and I was in Chile, and I had a local contact who was going to let me kind of do a book tour. He was going to, or a book speech, not a tour. And he booked a place, and I was like the week before I was ready to go, and he emails me and said, we've been kicked out of that place. They won't let us meet there, when he found out what I was going to talk about. So he found another place, and we were all ready to go. And like the day I got on the plane, he emailed me and said, they found out what we're going to do, so they kicked us out. So he finally found a third place. Well, by that time, everybody had lost track of it. And I think he had 3 people show up to my talk in Santiago, Chile. So, and he said every one of them would not allow somebody who might be talking against religion to give a talk in there. It was like the back room of a bar or a coffee shop and stuff like that. So I saw it in first place. I was also there when the Pope was there. Teo, you mentioned the Pope. I was in Chile when the Pope was there, and we were touring around while we were watching the news about the Pope. And the Pope was defending that bishop that had, transferred priests all around. And the entire country was pissed off at the Pope. It was no matter where you went, you could see signs and people saying, they were really pissed at the Pope. As I understand, the Pope left a day early so he could get to Peru and get away from the protesters. And at Peru, he was received with great welcome, and nobody protested any child abuse. So he actually got protected or shielded from it when he went up to Peru. Anyway, that was my experience. And I wonder, this is the second week I've done that. I don't usually do this, but in my book, I talk a lot about South America and how the Christians invaded and killed so many people in the name of Jesus. But I also talk about how the Catholic God virus in South America is weak. There's been no competition. And so the God virus itself has gotten weak, which has allowed the evangelicals to come in and start taking over huge swaths of places like Brazil and Argentina and Chile. When I was in Chile and Argentina, Argentina, and Brazil. Everywhere we went, we could see evangelical signs. And I asked people about that, and they said, yeah, 20 years ago, they weren't here. So it's been a huge change in the religious landscape of Latin America just in the last 20 years. I'm sure Teo has seen this himself. So that's just to kind of underline everything that Teo's told us tonight. It's big, and it's a big problem. So to wind it up, just say thanks so much, Teo, for giving us a really well organized, well thought out, and it didn't get in my way at all that there was Spanish slides, because you explained them so well to our audience. And do join us next week, and then of course join us on the 4th. May the 4th be with you. Helen's putting together
Star Wars Day.
Yeah, Star Wars Day. Helen put together a great fundraiser. She every year, Helen works her butt off to make this thing work. And that money you saw that money this week when if you saw some of our posts about the RFR bulletin board that went up in Hammond, Indiana. We put a bulletin board right next to a church that has had horrible sex scandals going on for 20 years, and we are trying to highlight the abuses that churches are engaging in. And we're going to put more billboards up, but we can only do it through your donations. That's how we make this possible.